Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to a brand new episode of the podcast. This week, I was given the wonderful opportunity to be able to talk to Vanda Varga. I don't know. I apologise really badly if I just pronounced that royally badly. But Vanda is a wonderful NLP practitioner, and we were able to talk about some of the psychology that comes from marketing and sales and etc. like that, but also some of the challenges which I know that some people when they start in business have run into, and also some of them that I ran into myself back when I started as well, but also some of them that I'm actually still having to deal with now. So thank you ever so much for coming back once again. I hope you did enjoy this episode, and I'd love to hear what you think in the comment section down below. And I'm now going to hand over to her to introduce herself a little bit more, and I'll see you very, very soon.
Hello everybody, my name is Vanda Varga and I am a master practitioner and trainer of NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, hypnotherapy and coaching. So I help people with their mind. I help you understand how your mind works so you can change it, to get rid of your limiting beliefs, to get rid of all the limitations that you've had in your life from your past that have been holding you back, so you can live the life that you desire as the very best version of you.
Fantastic, and welcome to the podcast, and I hope you're going to enjoy the conversation today. But I think because we discussed a little bit before the podcast started, I think it would be really good to jump into firstly your background in regards to mindset, but also some of the main challenges that a lot of business owners face. I mean, a lot of people, myself recently, I've actually ran into the problem where I've had arguably quite a significant competitor starting to infiltrate, so to speak, my market, right? And a lot of people who are close to me have been asking, well, how are you quote unquote dealing with that, right? Now, it's never something which you can feel like, yeah, this is great, this is fantastic, there's more competition. But what I think is really good about it is that it forces me and forces anyone else in my industry or in my trade to get better for our client, for our end consumer. Because if you can provide a better service, in most cases you'll win, right? In comparison, if you're doing just a transactional relationship in regards to, I make X amount, they make Y amount. If I make more, I quote unquote win. If that's your gauge of whether you're winning or not, then that's getting better at that specifically, or getting better at your service, or getting better at video, or getting better at helping your client understand, in my case, how to utilize video, will help you to win. I mean, have you had a similar kind of journey or a similar moment in your business? Because I know a handful of NLP practitioners myself, so I can only imagine once you're trained in it and once you meet a lot of other NLP practitioners, it kind of feels like the room's quite full quite quickly.
Very. Absolutely, yes, you are right. There are many NLP practitioners out there. There are many hypnotherapists. There are many coaches. There are many people who want to help others, and that's a good thing. It is a very good thing, because we all have different views. We all have different approaches. We all have different ways of looking at different topics. We have different niches. We have different. Everything is different, isn't it? So I never looked at other practitioners as competition. I always looked at them as this is an amazing opportunity for collaboration. Or the other side of it, that I have my own field of expertise. I know what I'm very good at, and I know what I'm not very good at. And having other NLP practitioners, hypnotherapists, other therapists in my network allows me to feel okay with my niche and my field of expertise, because I know that there are other people out there who will be able to help if I'm not the right person. So I love referring people on, and I love finding the right person for you. So I think it's actually having different, having many different people in the same field is an opportunity to make sure that we guide the client that comes through the door. We guide them to the right kind of help, the one that will really work for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree. But I think, especially people who are earlier in business, they constantly see this. There's this kind of like, I can only win if I stamp on my competition, or I can only win if I disregard my competition, or etc. And for me, I always find that really funny, because the fact of the matter is, as you so rightly said, you know, a lot of it is actually about you have a certain skill set. You have, especially when you're talking video, we all, as videographers or as camera operators, we all have separate styles. We all have things we have preferences on. We all shoot on different cameras, etc., etc., etc. Which means you're going to get a slightly different product no matter who you hire. Now that's not a bad thing, right? Because a certain product might be better suited to that certain style of video or the certain help that someone might need in your case, for example. And I think it's about, I mean, what advice would you give to someone who is like actually struggling with the concept of, oh, someone's come into my market, or, I'm not as comfortable, or potentially I don't feel as comfortable in my market as maybe I used to, because, it feels like it's getting slightly overcrowded now.
Well, I can actually feel that. I can vouch for that. It is happening right now, especially after the pandemic, when there are so many people who were made redundant or decided to leave their jobs, and they decided to become coaches. So there are loads and loads and loads of coaches out there. Some people are very well trained, and some people aren't as well trained. And I have a choice here. I get to decide whether I'm going to let all my energy go into that direction of me bogging myself down about the competition and worrying about them and being angry about the situation or getting frustrated with it, all that, and waste all my energy on that. Or I can decide, or I can choose to focus my energy on the people that I'm here for, who are my clients. And those people, for those people, I will be the right person because we resonate with each other. None of the other coaches or therapists will be able to give exactly the same things as I do, just like I won't be able to give exactly the same things as they do. And that is okay, because that just means that everybody has the right person for them out there. So I personally choose to spend my energy on what I have control over and where I do have an influence, so I can help people change their minds and get to the lives that they want to live. So my advice would be that, first of all, choose where you direct your attention, direct your energy. And secondly, there is always something that we can learn from each other, isn't there? So instead of looking at the competition as, oh my goodness, that person does this one better and that one better, and I will never get it. How about having an attitude, what if I could model that? What if I could take the good parts out of how they do what they do and implement it to my audience? What if I could learn from them instead of looking at them as competition? What if we could work together? What if together we could make the world a better place?
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree, and I think it's really important to establish, how you're spending your attention, but also then how you're spending your energy, because and I could use multiple quotes here, but I'll use one. I believe it's from, I can't remember actually who it's from, but it's basically along the lines of, basically, I don't hold grudges because do you understand how much energy and time it would take to hold a grudge and be angry with someone? And how can you spend that time effectively? How can you spend that energy and that emotion and everything to be positive and to move yourself forward? And that's why, a lot of people, because I say a lot of the time, there is no competitor for me, right? And I don't say that to be egotistical, like most people believe that I am being when I say that. I say that because, for the exact thing we were just describing, for those clients who resonate with me and connect with me specifically, and we build a very good relationship and a bond, I believe personally, for as long as our paths are looking to go in the same direction, we'll always work together because it makes sense. The entire process becomes easier. The closer you work with someone, the longer you work with someone, you understand how they work, you understand what they need from you, and vice versa. So it's one of those situations where you don't. Firstly, you have to get out of your head of like, oh my god, this other person's getting work and I'm not, maybe. And instead of looking at what they're doing, look at what are you doing? What position are you in? Right? How are you marketing? Are you marketing? How good are you? But if you're looking at a technical skill like videography, for example, how good are you in comparison to that person? From a technical understanding perspective, styles will change, but there's some technical things which will always be quote unquote better if you're just looking at technical. And I don't mean what camera they're shooting on. I mean, things like lighting, things like composition, things like pacing, things like editing, things that are very common across, or have transferable skills across any camera and any editing software. And I imagine there's very similar in your trade as well. Things simply like communication skills and how you serve your clients and how they feel when you're serving your clients as well, I think is really, really important, especially in NLP, and you're really helping people go through and showcase and help them really understand what their life could be. I think is the key point. With a lot of what you do. But how did you kind of get to the position where a business owner, say for example, they are, as we've described them, they're very conscious of, they're looking at, okay, so they've now decided, right, okay, I'm very conscious that I'm using my energy wrong. I'm looking at those other people. I'm spending more time looking at them than I should be looking at myself. How, from like an NLP side or like from a psychology side, would you suggest that they potentially, change their mindset or look to change their mindset? Because I imagine, for me as someone who's interested in psychology, it's not very difficult because I kind of grew up with psychology. I've studied psychology, so and by no means does that mean I'm a psychologist. No, it means I understand the basic building blocks of my mind, and what I can and can't manipulate. Right, that's the point I'm making there. But I mean, for those people who aren't like me in respect to, they don't necessarily understand the blocks they can manipulate, what would you suggest to them to get to a better place?
There are many, 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 many different ways of doing that, and this is my profession, helping you find the right way for you. What altogether, in general, what I would say is that when it comes to defining your life and how you're going to live it, you can be at two different places. You can be either at the effect of everything that's happening to you, or you can go back to the cause of what is happening, where you can take charge. And this is a personal decision that you need to make. I do actually do a talk and a workshop on this topic. It's called Hope is Not Enough. You need to make a decision and you need to take an action. And this is what it's all about. You need to decide what you're going to do, because things happen to all of us. Competition is out there for all of us. We are all in a very saturated field, whatever we do, unless you're really, really niched into something. So we again have a choice. Are we going to allow all that noise to come in and ruin everything that we do because it takes up all your energy and then you won't be able to focus on what you do? Are you going to be at the effect of all this that is happening to you? Or are you going to go back to the cause, and are you going to go back to you and see that, okay, where do I have control? Take responsibility for your own actions and decide that, okay, I am going to consciously choose to focus my attention on this particular thing, and let all your energy flow there, because this is where you are going to find your flow. This is where you are going to be able to be at your excellence, at your very best, and really serve the people that you do want to serve, whatever way that is. So it is the same for you, for videographers, even photographers. It's for every single profession, isn't it? Because we cannot forget, we need to remember the human element of it. So everything that you said previously, that yes, you have the technical knowledge, the lighting, the sound, the everything that comes with it. Yes, everybody will have different levels of knowledge of that. But what will be the most important bit is, are you going to build rapport with the person that you're talking to, or are you not? And if you don't build rapport with the person because you are bogged down about everything else that's happening, then you are going to lose that client. You won't even get close to winning that client anyways. So I think this human element is one of the most important bits, and understanding that, yes, there are many people out there, but if I get through to you, if you get through to me, then we will be able to build rapport, we will be able to build a relationship. And this is when what you said happens. We have a relationship already. We know exactly how we work. We know exactly how we can help each other. Therefore, we are going to stick together, won't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there will be no competition whatsoever.
No. And I think it's really important to highlight that. But I also think, the main thing that I've found is, and I try to design my day specifically so that I have small tasks when I start my day. And something I wanted to mention today was the concept of momentum, because I'd be interested in your opinion on building momentum throughout the day and why that's valuable. But for those who don't necessarily maybe listening and are interested in the concept is mainly around you do some small tasks. So it could be, I'm going to write 2 emails this morning because they are very important emails and they're quite easy to actually achieve, right? I write an email, okay, fantastic, I can tick it off the list. And keeping a to-do list and keeping yourself accountable to that to-do list is really important. But when you have bigger tasks on that to-do list, sometimes people struggle to get to the position where they can do the big task because they haven't built momentum into it, in my opinion, right? And from what I've found as someone who has a lot on my plate, along with a lot of business owners, especially as you're scaling your company and you're growing as well, you have a lot of other responsibilities. You have things that you need to do if you're taking on new premises, for example, or you're taking on new staff, or etc., etc., etc. There's so many hidden costs and so many hidden stresses and so many hidden things that can take your energy. Key point: take your energy and your time. The two things which you only have a minute amount of. Money we can technically make more of, and we can technically replenish, and we can find ways to increase that without necessarily always having time and energy. But a lot of time and energy, we only have a certain amount, right? We have only a certain amount of time and only a certain amount of energy, no matter whether I make £1,000,000 or whether I make £5. It doesn't matter. So for me, you've got to, in my opinion anyway, you've got to get to a position as a business owner where you protect your time and your energy, because that is what's going to be the difference between you staying in business and you growing in business, or you not growing in business. And to be honest, from my experience. And the main point I was making about momentum there, and I'll throw back to you in a moment, but is that you can build yourself a level of energy and build yourself a level of time optimization by getting yourself excited, getting yourself to a position where you feel really, really happy and accomplished with what you did by building up this little tasks into bigger tasks. So, say for example, I've got to edit a video. That would be, in theory, created as a bigger task because it takes a longer period of time, a longer period of energy, and a lot more concentration than necessarily writing an email that's going to take me 2 minutes. Okay, fantastic. So I'm going to start my day by writing those emails or having those phone calls, and then I'm going to go directly into the bigger task because I've already built the momentum and I'm already feeling good. And then once you start, you're more likely then to continue. I mean, have you found that there is a level of momentum with your business specifically in the respect to like how you actually work in comparison? Do you have a ritual? Do you have a habit? Do you have a set of routines in the morning or when you start work that helps make sure that you are going to stay accountable to those things you have to do?
I do have many different processes, yes. I think what it all goes back to is planning. Because okay, let's think about a small business owner who just started out and gets all these new ideas that are coming in, gets all these different responsibilities, then now starts to understand, oh my goodness, I need to think about my social media, I need to think about my website, I need to think about getting clients, I need to think about getting paid, I need to think about paying for this and that, and everything else, and all this then becomes overwhelming. And when we are overwhelmed, this is when we start procrastinating. And by procrastination, you just start making yourself feel even worse and worse and worse about yourself, about your business. You're losing momentum, you're losing energy. Therefore, you're going to procrastinate a little bit more and procrastinate a little bit and feel even more overwhelmed because all those things just piling up on each other. Yeah, that's a normal scenario, isn't it? So that all goes back to understanding what is going on. And what tends to happen, and this is just a generic way of saying it, everybody is going to be very, very individual, very different, very unique. But let's look at the general scenario. So what happens there is that we've got too much that we are thinking about at the time. So my best advice in that scenario would be to stop and take a step back. Literally stand up and take a step back and look at all these things from a different perspective. And that can be a physically different perspective. So you move yourself to a different space. Then write down everything that you've got and put them into groups. What is important? What is medium important? And what is there that can wait? And once you've got all those big things out there, break them down into small, achievable tasks. This is where the saying comes in, one step at a time. So let's just start to walk before we start running. Yes, let's just learn to walk, before we start running. So let's not try to jump on the top of the ladder. Let's take one step at a time as we are going. There is another advice that I would give to everybody, which really, really helps to build momentum from the morning when you wake up to have a full productive day. And that is again going back to planning. Don't do your planning in the morning. Do it the night before. Or don't do your planning on Monday morning for the week, but do it the Friday before. Because by you consciously going through the motions and telling yourself that, okay, this is what I'm going to do tomorrow, or this is what I'm going to do next week, then it then means that you can give your conscious mind a little rest. Your subconscious mind has got the commands that you've given it. It's got the directions. It now knows what you want it to do, so it will do the heavy lifting for you. So by you doing the planning the night before or the weekend before, you're giving your conscious mind a rest, and you are allowing your subconscious mind to do its magic for you. So it will come up with the best solutions for the particular issue, problem, question, task, whatever you want to call it, that you have to deal with the next day or the next week.
Yeah, and I think it's really important, and a lot of, entrepreneurs or people who are overly, seen on a pedestal because they're very successful, Elon Musk would be one, Jeff Bezos would be another, etc. These billionaires, all the things that they have in common is they do a technique called time blocking, which is exactly what you were talking about just there. Now, time blocking, for those who don't know or appreciate it, is basically allocating a certain amount of time to a certain priority list task. So I have, say, 4 high priority list tasks today. Okay, fantastic. I'm going to give them the majority of the day overall. And then I have a certain set of medium tasks that get less time, and so on. And what ends up happening is you build a routine, and you build a level of area, or a level of system in your brain, but also in your electronic devices, or how you work, where it's very difficult for you to procrastinate. Because if your calendar's full, you're constantly going to get notified. Okay, in half an hour you have this. In 20 minutes you have this. In 3 hours you have this. And then it's a constant reminder of all the things that you made a promise to yourself that you would do. Now, whether they're related to clients specifically or not doesn't actually matter, because that would just change the level of priority, right? If it's you've said to a client, you'll have this video, in my case, for example, by Monday, and it's currently Friday, and you're not really planning to work over the weekend, but it's Friday morning and you know you can get it done today, okay, so that's the highest thing on your priority list. But what actually happens is you trust yourself, and you build a level of trust within yourself once you do this consistently, because you say, oh, it's going to be done in 3 hours, and then it's done in 3 hours. And then you're like, actually, now I can really, really understand how long this activity, this task, whatever it may be, is going to take me. And it's something that we talk about in marketing a lot as well, which is a level of momentum there. And that's going to be my next question. It's going to be, what role do you feel marketing really plays in your business? Because something that we noticed, especially during the lockdowns that we had, were businesses were pulling their marketing. They were just pulling it. They weren't slowing it down. They weren't re-strategizing it. They were just pulling it. They were just stopping. They just panicked. They went, I don't want to spend any money. I'm not spending any money at all. Let's pull the marketing completely. But then there was the other half of the businesses that we saw that were like, okay, so maybe some of these posts now are going to be a bit questionable, or some of the plans we had for our marketing are maybe a bit, okay, this is maybe not the right time right now because of lockdown. Okay, fine. So they pulled those, but they didn't stop. And that was the key. And I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on, should people technically have pulled their marketing? Should they have continued? What did you do?
Well, I don't believe in should or shouldn't at all, because everybody needs to do what is right for them. And obviously there will be different priorities on the list which we may or may not know about. In theory, I do agree with you. Marketing shouldn't really stop if you want to use a should, because it's good to have that constant flow. Even when you are doing well, it's still good to be present at different levels. What I find, if you are interested in my personal experience, is that when I first started out, I tried to do the official marketing things, what people call marketing, doing Facebook ads and being present in all social media and doing this and doing that, things that basically where you are not present, you are just putting yourself out there. And it did not work for me. I never got anybody from any sort of Facebook ads or Google ads or anything like that. So then I've decided, knowing that there is no failure, only feedback. You can either succeed or learn. I decided that, okay, what is my feedback here? What is my learning here? Because it is not working for me. And it was that it was impersonal. I wasn't good at it. It's not my profession. I didn't have the means at that time to pay somebody to do it for me. So it was like, okay, this is not it. So then I went and I took my marketing budget and I decided that I'm going to spend it differently. And this is when I started networking. Personally, it was all online when I was doing it. So I didn't actually meet people at the time apart from seeing them on Zoom. But I have to say that as soon as I started networking as my marketing strategy and I started getting to know people, started to put myself out there, getting out of my comfort zone, it was dreadful to start with. I'm going to have to admit that. But as soon as I started doing that and people started to getting to know me, my business started to skyrocket. And it was because people bought into me. What I do is a very, very personal thing. The relationship that I have with my clients, whether they are my one-to-one clients or whether they are my training participants, I call them, it's a very intimate relationship. We do talk about stuff. We talk about all sort of things. It's really, really important that the person needs to be okay with me. We need to resonate at different levels. We need to like each other to be able to, or even if we don't like each other, we just need to have an understanding that we are the right people for each other. So then I can have them and they can learn about themselves. So in my business, what was really important is doing the networking and building these personal relationships when people got to know me. It's all about that know, like, and trust element, isn't it? And what I found, and this is my personal experience, that by doing those adverts and social media and all that, that did not happen. Yeah, it doesn't. I'm not saying that it can't happen for anybody else because I do actually know people who have been doing Facebook ads since the beginning of time, and that's their only way of bringing in clients, and it works really, really well for them. Fantastic. I'm very happy for them. This just shows that we all have different skills and we all have different niches. The people that I want to work with may not be there. I may not find them there. Very good that there is another person who covers that market, so everybody will get the help that they need.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to what we were talking about a little bit earlier about finding the right person for you, firstly, but also to an extent, everyone has a different style of marketing or a different way of marketing, and it's about, for us as a marketing agency, we try to do all the kinds of things that we want to help clients do. So we can test, and then we can find out what works, and then we can go to a client and then say, actually, I think this will work really well for you. For us, it's very difficult to say because we do Facebook marketing, we do social media marketing, we do, as it for us specifically, and we do networking. So where have I actually gained the work from? Very difficult to say because for a lot of what we do, it takes a long time for people to consume a lot of our content to get to the position where they actually, it might be I have 2 calls with you, but then also you watch like 3 or 4 videos of mine, and then maybe you got hit. Maybe the first point was you got hit by a Facebook ad, right? That's very common. Then what we call that is then coming into someone's world, right? So you come into my world, fantastic, great. But then you start consuming some of my regular content. Okay, cool. So you get to know me a little bit more through that. Great, fabulous. So now we're probably around the middle of like stage at that point. And then maybe we've had a couple of conversations on the phone or via Zoom and etc. You know me a bit more personally. Okay, so now you're moving towards trust. But maybe we initially met through networking and that was the top end. That's another scenario. You hear my name, then you go to my socials, you follow me, you like my page, etc. Then you see some of the content, and then it slowly builds up. So it's very difficult to gauge, and people always ask me, how do you validate or how do you track whether a video is working? Because it would be very easy if it was like we do this, and it increases your sales. That would be very easy. You could put it on a graph. You could say, okay, we put this much in, we got this much out. Okay, is that a good return on investment? Yes or no? Fantastic. But the thing is that a lot of our clients have found is actually what we're building here is a lot of momentum in marketing, which, as in how much you're being seen naturally by the algorithms of the platforms you're posting on, number one. But number two, also, what we're trying to get to a point where you have some what's known as a unicorn video, which is basically where a video gets really, 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 really well into the algorithm, and then it suddenly gets a load of views or suddenly gets a load of attention that you have no right technically to have, right? Because that's fantastic, because then you've got a load of new people finding your brand, etc. But that could take you thousands of videos, or it could take you two. It's not. There's no science behind it. Everyone asks me, what's the TikTok algorithm, or what's the Instagram algorithm, or YouTube algorithm, etc. The simple answer is the algorithm's way you need to think about it is, what does the algorithm want you to do? The nuances on the algorithm is something which changes every week, because basically the algorithm as a concept is a piece of computer code that automatically changes the things that it looks for over and over and over again, so no one can ever know what it is. Even the people who made the code don't know what it is, because it's built into the code to randomly generate, right? But the thing that is always going to be the same and will always sit right with every platform is, you need to remember and you need to think about it this way. Every platform that asks you to create content also has advertising of some description on that platform. What they want is, they want for you to create content that increases the amount of attraction to their platform and then engagement on that platform. Why? So they can serve more paid advertising to that client list, to that service list, to that set of people that you, using your content, is helping keep on the platform. That's what they'll always reward. They'll always reward holding someone on a platform. They'll always not reward taking them off platform, e.g. to your YouTube channel from LinkedIn, e.g. to your website from Facebook, etc. There's a bit more of a different synergy, and I won't get into it today, but there's a bit more of a different synergy when it's Facebook to Instagram, because they're both owned by Facebook. So it becomes a bit different, a bit more complicated. But in layman's terms, what are you looking for when you look at algorithmic performance? And I know there's a slight tangent, but I think it was valuable. You want to increase engagement. That's it. And the same thing is true when it comes to any form of marketing or any form of advertisement. Because as we just described, actually the conversion metric, or the time from being like someone who has no idea what you do and how you do it to then becoming a client, is huge. The amount of time it takes them to actually become whatever you do, and this is true in any market. Coca-Cola could be the really, really simple example. Everyone knows Coca-Cola, but why do they still advertise now? Arguably, they're the biggest brand, one of the biggest brands in the entire world. You would perceivably think they don't need to advertise anymore because they're the biggest brand. But they do, because they need to keep reminding people that they still exist. And that was one of the issues that we found with our clients in lockdown, was the ones that pulled their marketing completely. Well, basically what you're saying to all the clients that you had is, you shut down. Whether you have or not doesn't matter. But that's what you were doing. And I think, for me, it's very important to have a good balance, and to make sure, as you said, that you understand your priorities. The pandemic personally showed me, what do I really value and what don't I really value myself. Personally for me. Nothing to do with business at all. But also then it allows me to make business changes, and allows me to change stuff within the business, because then I feel more fulfilled. Then I feel more happy. Then I don't feel like I'm just in a 9 to 5 again. Because the whole reason why I went full time in the first place with my own business was so I could have the control. That's the point. That's the goal.
Absolutely, and I think this is a really valuable point for the audience as well, who are struggling with that balance, the work-life balance. That just understanding that if you are not happy in your personal life, if you are not filling up your little buckets of values, then your business isn't going to go the way how you would like it to. So understanding that taking care of you and understanding your values and making sure that you live by them, it's not a luxury, it's actually a necessity. Because if you don't, who is going to drive that business? Who is going to be there for your client, whatever clients or customers they will be? So you need to make sure that you are content, that you know what you are doing. You've got your values sorted out, whether both your personal values and your business values as well, and see whether they match. See whether they can live in a oneness, whether they can live together. Because if you want something as a person and then your business does something completely different, there will always be a misalignment. There will be an incongruence. You will never be happy. So you won't be able to get your message across, whether it's through networking or social media or paid adverts or whatever videos, whatever it will be. If you are not congruent with yourself, your marketing will not work. Your business will not work, will it?
No, absolutely. I think it's a really important point, because a lot of people, have asked me, how can you talk in public? How can you talk to a camera in public? How can you vlog yourself, so to speak? Because I have the confidence within myself. I've done it for years, which helps. But I also have the confidence within myself to know this is who I am, this is what I do, and I don't care if anyone else judges me for it.
It doesn't matter, does it? Because at the end of the day, they can say whatever they would like to. That's literally none of your business. It's their opinion, it's their business. Your business is what you do, personally and actual business wise as well. And just having that confidence. I work with many small business owners and bigger business owners and people in the corporate world and all that. And I don't do business. I'm not a business coach. But behind everything that you do as a professional is a person. And yes, you need to be absolutely aligned with who you are. You need to know who you are. You need to have the confidence, the self-esteem, the self-belief that what you are doing, that you just existing, is valid as a person. And then understand your values and what is driving you. And once you've got that sorted, then whatever you need to be doing, that will come, won't it? But yes, be confident in yourself, understand who you are. And if anybody reached out for any sort of help at the beginning of their journey, just reach out to someone who can help you figure that out, who you truly are. And then everything else will come. And you will be able to create the means for your business coach, for your marketing, for your videos, for your everything else.
Yeah, I think it's really
But it all
important.
starts and finishes with you, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think it's also that, the final point I'll make on that before we move on is, it's about being patient with the time that it takes as well. Because something that I found, especially when I was starting out, was I want it all now. I want it all now. Why is my business? Why is my business not where I want it to be? And I've been doing it 5 minutes, or a week, or 2 weeks, or a month, or whatever it is. Everything takes time. You take time to develop the person you need to be. You're not yet, right? The business that you want, if it's a million turnover business, or £100,000 turnover business, or 10 million, or 100 million, or whatever it is, whatever your number is, because yes, we have a number, and no, finance is not important. It has to be to a certain extent. It is a metric on how well you're doing, though. That's a reality. It may not necessarily, and it shouldn't be, the thing that you hold close to your heart. That should be how happy are you, how fulfilled are you, how much are you enjoying it. But also, if you're looking just at a transactional relationship part of the business, if you're making more money, you're doing better than you were previously. Or you're making, as in less transactions potentially, but you're doing larger transactions, which will in turn mean you're making more money. Great, fantastic. But the point that I'm making there is, some people rush to go, oh, I need to grow faster. I need to be at 100k this year. I need to be at 1 million this year, etc., etc., etc. Especially if you're young. And I mean that from 20-year-olds to 30-year-olds to even 40-year-olds. You're still so young. There's so much time. You have so much time, right? If you look at the average time that we're going to die, and of course there's outcroppers, but the average time is like between the ages of 80 and the ages of 100. Which means if you're age 50, you've still got half your life, right? Approximately half your life left. So take it slow, not necessarily slow as in the progression. Like, you can have big dreams, big aspirations. I'm a massive person who's a massive advocate for quote unquote over dreaming. But also then don't beat yourself up if you don't hit that achievable goal or that thing that was like a bit further ahead. And it should be a motivator, not a crumbler if you don't get it.
Exactly, and I think this is such an important point. What I so the tagline of my business is everyone's growth looks different, and it is there for a reason. This is the exact reason. We are all very different. We all learn differently, so our growth, our journey, our experiences, everything will look different as well. So what I always say to my clients, and to be fair, not just my clients, everybody that I meet, is that you comparing yourself to all those people who've done this and who've done that and who earn a million K a month or whatever it is, whatever, really ridiculous numbers, that's not really fair, is it? It's not really a fair comparison. You don't know where they started. You don't know what sort of skills they've got. You don't know what sort of backwind they've got. You don't know uh, their background. You don't know their mindset. You know nothing about them. So what I always say is that the only fair comparison that you can make is compare yourself to the person you were yesterday. Am I better? Am I getting closer to the goal, the outcome, the vision that I set for myself? What can I do to get closer to that?
Yeah, it's really important, and I think it's something which is sometimes again misunderstood, but also I think it links really nicely onto the next thing. Because personally, for me, I've had imposter syndrome. I've had things that are around imposter syndrome. I've had issues with imposter syndrome, and a lot of the business owners I talk to, they also are, going and saying, I don't understand. I'm the same person I was when I had my part time, for example, or etc. 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 And they don't feel like they deserve the success which they have because of the work they put in, right? I mean, in your experience, have you found that quite common? Firstly, but then secondly, what is your definition of imposter syndrome?
It is very, very common. Absolutely. I don't think I've met anybody who's been doing well, or who is a purpose-led or a heart-led person or business who didn't have this sort of imposter syndrome. And it is okay to have. Imposter syndrome, in my opinion, is something that has been blown out of proportion by putting the word syndrome after the imposter. Because all it is it's a narrative. It's a self-talk, and we all have that self-talk. Now, again, there is a decision to make. What are we going to allow that self-talk to do to us? Are we going to let it ruin us completely and tell ourselves the story that no, I don't deserve it, no, I haven't put in enough work, or you will only get this if you work hard, you need to put the hours in, whatever that will be? Or are you going to turn it into your best friend and your best cheerleader, who will be there to celebrate your achievements and say that yes, you deserve it, even though you took a very, very little step today, but you deserve what you are getting for that today. And tomorrow is going to be a new day, and you can do even better, or you can do even more. So that's all in general. That's about self-talk, but imposter syndrome comes under that as well, doesn't it? It's about what sort of narrative you have to the stage of your life that you are at. We can call it imposter syndrome, or we can call it the situation that you are in. How are you going to evaluate that? What are you going to do about it? Is it whatever you are doing, again, going back to your values, is it aligned with your values? Or are you outside of that realm? What is important for you? And if it is aligned with your values, then why wouldn't you deserve it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important to also understand that your your core values will stay the same, but your top end values, or like the stuff that's more surface level, is also going to change as you grow as well, right? The things that I wanted back when I had a part time are very different to the things I want now, right? For example, or the things that I find challenging are very different now than they were when I had my part time, or etc. And I think it's about checking in with that and understanding, as you so rightly said, what are your core values firstly, but then also what are those metrics of things that you use to actually check those things. Asking, if you're looking to bring in a member of the team, for example, or you're looking to build a team, why are you doing that? What's the reason? What do you get? What do you gain outside of time back? Right? What, are you doing it for the right reasons? If you want to work with a client, are you working with that client for the right reasons, not just because they're paying you a lot of money? Right? Like, we don't actually look at one of the last things we look at is the budget whenever we do a project, or whenever we look to work with a new business, because for me, I want to make sure that the businesses we work with and the people we work with and the business owners we work with have a similar, moral or ethos to connect, because I know it's not going to work otherwise. Because if they're asking us to promote a product that I don't technically agree with, that might just be I don't get it. But if I don't agree with it, then it's not going to work, because I'm not going to be able to put the all into actually being able to sell it or market it, because we can't necessarily connect correctly, if that makes sense. And I think it's I think it's really important. I think a lot of businesses are quite scared of saying no. I think businesses are quite a lot of scared to say, I don't think we're the right people for you.
And that's absolutely right. I 100% agree with you. The work isn't going to be what it could potentially be. It's not going to flow. It's not going to come together. You need to get each other. And this is exactly it. What you just said here, this is what I do in my field. So it can be done across any field really, and all fields, is I always offer a free consultation to start with, and this is for this exact reason. And we don't even talk about any of my packages or breakthrough sessions or whatever. I don't know what would be the suitable one for you. It doesn't matter how much cost at that point. Let's just see if I can help you, if we gel, if we get each other, and if we do, then we can take the next step. Without that, we had it, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was kind of everything that personally I wanted to discuss today. I mean, at the end of the podcast, I like to give the guests an opportunity, if they haven't asked me any questions, to throw in a question or throw in a topic for us to discuss for a couple of minutes just before we finish the outro with everything exciting in that respect, you know, where the websites and such are. But is there anything you wanted to ask me specifically, or a topic that you want to throw in?
Oh, I don't know. You've talked about so many things. It was actually quite nice for me to get to know you a little bit more as well and get to know your way of thinking. Because obviously we've met before and we have had a few chats, but it was just nice to see how you think in general and how different perspectives. I mean, perspectives of different fields can be brought together quite nicely, can't they? So yes, no, I enjoyed this chat. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. And for those who may be interested in seeing some of your work or potentially hearing about working with you one-to-one or training or etc., where's the best place for people to reach out to?
I think it is my website, which is vandavarga.co.uk. And there you can find anything and everything really. You can find all my offerings, you find all my workshops, the certified NLP practitioner training that I do. You can sign up for a free chat with me, whether it's about your personal growth or it's about the courses that I run. Yeah, that's my website.
Fantastic. Thank you ever so much for the time. Really, really appreciate it. And I think we'll pass on to outro version of me now in a moment. Thanks so much for taking the time to come back and listen and consume this piece of content, ladies and gents. I hope you did take value from it. And I really, really appreciate the feedback that we get on these podcasts and these bits of content anyway. So I'd love to hear what you think in the comments section down below. And if you would like to hear more and see more from us as a company, or see from me on camera or off, then make sure to be subscribed to the channel. And I'll see you very, very soon for a brand new piece of content. And have a fantastic day, evening, or night, wherever you currently are.